19 of the Geek Perspective. I'm your host, Roy, and on today's show, we dissect The Fly. So stay tuned. So, what's up, Tom?
Hey, Roy, how you doing today, man?
I am doing good. How are you?
Good, man, good.
Life's going good?
Yeah, life's good. It's weekend. My vacation starts next Friday, so things are looking good right now.
That's good. Buy anything interesting recently?
Let me think. Nothing major, I don't think. Trying to think. Oh yeah, I told you I picked up iZombie Pop off $7 a pop because I'm gonna try to get it signed at Rhode Island Comic Con. So, but other than that, no, not too much. How about you?
Well, it's funny you say that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually purchased the Jaws with what's his face's mouth?
Quinn.
In his mouth and the blood gushing everywhere.
It's so cool.
Very cool.
It's so
Very cool.
Love that pop.
Yeah. Well, I pre-ordered it on Entertainment Earth.
Yeah.
And it finally came. So that was cool.
Nice.
All right, guys. And if you like this video, hit the like button. That way you can stay up to date what's going on with new content. And subscribe and share the video. Plus, make sure to comment below with suggestions for new content. Or just say, hey, how you doing? So today we have a quick episode. And we're going to be reviewing The Fly. This was a request from Steve. So Steve, this is for you. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so we did The Fly, and like you said, it was a request. So please, if you guys have anything you would like us to review, send us a message. Leave a message for us or something. Let us know what you want, or you can hit us up on social media. Go to we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on Twitter as Geek Perspective. Twitter or Geeks Perspective 2 with a 2 instead of the E at the end. But yeah, you can leave us a message there. If you want us to review, or if you want us to talk about anything, we will. So, yeah, leave a message here or there. And again,
And everywhere.
Exactly. And like Roy said,
be like Roy.
Like and subscribe to our videos. So, yeah, so this week we are reviewing The Fly, which was a 1986 remake by David Cronenberg, one of my favorite directors. Directed the classic Scanners back in the day. But yeah, so this was it was based on a short story, a 1957 short story of the same name by George Lang. I'm gonna butcher his name, George Langelands. It was the short story. It was The Fly. Yeah, and Cronenberg redid it in 1986. He directed and co-wrote it. It is considered a science fiction body horror film, and it was produced by Brooks Films and distributed by 20th Century Fox and stars Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, and John Getz. The score was composed by Howard Shore, and the makeup effects were created by Chris Wallace, along with makeup artist Stephen Dupuis. And interesting, Chris Wallace actually wrote and directed the sequel to The Fly, which is not really considered a Cronenberg thing because he wasn't involved, but he did work with Cronenberg on the first one, and he wrote and directed the sequel that came out in 1989. So yeah, fun little fact there. And some more interesting things. It grossed $60.6 million on a $9 million budget. Now, 60.6, I know a lot of you out there probably, oh, that's nothing. Well, this was 1986. $60.6 million in 1986.
Went a long way.
Yeah, it was a lot of money, and it was just a lot of things went into that. Movies were, it was a lot cheap. God, in the 80s, I mean, it was under $5 to go see a movie back in the day, right? You could go to the theaters. It was like $3-4. God, me and Roy are starting to sound old here.
Almost totally.
Yeah, but so 16.6 in 1986 was a big amount. It was the biggest, and still is the biggest, commercial success of David Cronenberg's career. And interestingly, it won an Academy Award for makeup, which it should have, because the makeup is amazing, especially for 1986. And it's the only Academy Award in David Cronenberg's career, and he has made classic movies. He's a great director. His films are very niche, but he's one of my favorites. And he won. It's the only Academy Award of his career. So, anything else before we jump into the synopsis, Roy?
Well, it's funny you say that. Chris Wallace, what the hell that?
Yes.
Say his name. He has credits for other really big movies. He was responsible for Gremlins, Arachnophobia, The Fly 2, of course, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Enemy Mine, Return of the Jedi, which Star Wars, and Dragon Slayer. So I just want to point that out. That this guy, he did some pretty big things.
Yeah.
So, but jump on to your synopsis.
So, now, if you haven't seen it, possible spoilers, but I mean, that's going to happen. It came out.
If you haven't seen this by now, too bad.
It's 1986. So, go and check it out. You can find it. You can go to I'm sure you could even go to your local library and find a copy for free somewhere. So, so a brief synopsis. The story centers around Seth Brundle, that is played by Jeff Goldblum. He's a brilliant but eccentric scientist, and he meets this Veronica Ronnie Quaife, a science journalist, at a press event. He gets to know her, and then he later he takes her back to his warehouse laboratory, and to show off his new invention. Ooh, Jeff Gold, yeah. He
a Jeff Goldblum fan out there.
Oh yeah. So to show off his invention, a set of telepods that allows instantaneous teleportation from one pod to the other. So really cool. He shows her this, but then he convinces her to keep it a secret at first, because, like I said, she is a journalist, and he doesn't want it to get out too soon. So he gives her the exclusive right to the story, but that she'll have exclusive right to the story. Sorry, I got a brain fart there. So she starts to document his work, and he's kind of showing it off and showing her what it can do. And the first thing that she kind of, the first red flag that she kind of sees, but it's not really played up that she sees it, but it's like a foreshadow. They see that the telepods cannot transport. It can transport inanimate objects, but live. If the object has live tissue, it completely mutilates the live tissue. And we see this scene, and I'm sure you remember this scene. It's demonstrated when a baboon is turned inside out. You remember this? Yes. It's
speaking of that, where do you get the baboons from, and why did you have two of them?
That's actually that's a good question, because I guess that is a good plot hole. Yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
Yeah. How do you get a baboon in a warehouse? Yeah. I didn't even really put that together, but good point, Roy.
Every once in a while.
Roy already throwing holes in the movie. So anyway, yeah. So it can transport the inanimate, but it can't do live tissue. So if you're thinking this is a problem, yeah, you're right. It is a problem. So anyway, some time goes on. They start to see each other, begin a romantic relationship. And during this romantic relationship, they have a sexual encounter. And during the sexual encounter, Seth Brundle, Jeff Goldblum, becomes inspired to reprogram the telepod so it can cope with whatever living tissue. And so he does some work on it, whatever, and it's successful. He's able to successfully teleport the second baboon. Luckily, it's not turned inside out. So
that would be very painful.
So, yes, it would. So yeah, so it's successful. So then Ronnie departs. She leaves before they can sort of celebrate this victory of Seth's. So Seth starts to become paranoid or whatever, and thinks that she's going back to her old beau or boyfriend or whatever he was, whatever they defined their relationship as. And with her editor, the editor of where she works, his name is Stathis of Borans. And but in reality, she wasn't going back to rekindle it. She was going back to deal with. He had sent her like a veiled threat, I guess you would call it at this point, about that he would break the story of Seth's telepods. And this was because he was jealous that she was now in a romantic and sexual relationship with Seth. So so he threatened to, break the story and ruin it and whatever, let the world know what was going on. So anyway, during this time, like I said, Seth, he became jealous. He thought she was going back to rekindle a relationship with him and get back with him. So he decides to get into one of his telepods and teleport there. So he gets in and he does it, but he doesn't realize a fly gets in to the telepod with him. So, excuse me, guys. I'm just trying to go through my notes real quick and keep this as condensed as possible. So the fly gets in, and whatever. So nothing happens right away. He comes out, everything seems normal. He doesn't really realize that the fly is in there. So they reconcile. Seth and Veronica reconcile. But then Seth starts to exhibit sort of increased strength, stamina, and sexual potency, and other things. He's
enhanced.
Yeah, thank you. That's the perfect word, enhanced. I couldn't think of it. Yes.
That's what I'm here.
And which he thought was from the telepods purifying his body. So that he thought they had this sort of purification effect on his body, and that he was essentially becoming enhanced, superhuman almost to this point. But on top of those sort of cool things that happen, he's having really crazy sugar cravings, and you start to see him his sanity slowly deteriorate. Oh, some great pictures up on the screen too. You start to see his sanity slowly deteriorate, which is great. Jeff Goldblum, fantastic, sort of playing this guy going crazy.
He's a great actor.
He is a great actor.
He doesn't get credit. Enough credit for what he does.
I agree. So he and then Ronnie starts to also worry about he's getting these really thick, coarse black hairs growing out of his back. Like not not like arm or leg hair, but just really thick hair has grown out of his back. So Ronnie, she's worried about him, and now he's becoming, you know, like I said, his sanity is starting to go a little bit. He's becoming more arrogant. He's becoming violent. He thinks that he's created the greatest thing in the world. He thinks that he's purifying his body. He's he wants Ronnie to go into the telepod. He wants her to do it because he wants her to become purified. She refuses and takes off, and now he's whatever, you know, he's dealing, you know, he goes off to, you know, drink his sorrows away, blah, blah, blah. And he goes to a bar, he partakes in an arm wrestling match. The only reason I bring this up is because he's arm wrestling a guy and he fractures the guy's arm because of his enhanced strength.
Great special effects.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome special effects.
And then he meets a woman named Tawny and brings her to the warehouse. He wants to put her into the telepod, but Ronnie rescues her, and you know, and then he's, you know, freaking out, going after him, but then his fingernails start falling out. Now, this is the point. When his fingernails fall out, that's when he finally decides that something's wrong. Not before this, not when all this stuff's happening. And, you know, and he's acting strange. He thinks it's all fine, but his fingernails fall out. There's the problem. So, yeah, so he goes through, and then he realizes what happened, that the fly got in, and the fly got in the telepod, and what happened was the telepod fused him and the fly at the molecular genetic level. So essentially, they were now a hybrid. They were one being. So he figures out, he starts to deteriorate more. Now you can see on the screen the pictures, you know, of him, you know, turning into that gross fly. And I know you guys are looking at it that you haven't seen it, and you're like, "Ugh, what is that?" But back in '86, I mean, me and Wright talked about this off camera. He said he wasn't that impressed. For me, I was, you know, we were both young then. I was super impressed by the special effects. Then looking back now, it's very dated. You know what I mean? It was 1986. So, yeah. So blah 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 blah
Blah.
Yeah, and so we're getting down to pretty much the final showdown here. You know, more stuff's happening. You know, he's dealing with becoming a fly. You know, and deteriorating mental health. Hang on, sorry, I lost my spot in my notes.
Well, I have to say, I like this movie. It's definitely a classic. And it was very cool. I don't know how many people out there have seen this movie, but a young Jeff Goldblum and a young Gina Davis was awesome to see. Maybe because I'm an 80s kid, but and how about the 80s music in this movie? It was like, that's freaking awesome. Good old 80s music.
Yeah. All right, so I found my spot. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, so like I was saying, blah blah blah. Yeah, he's figured out now that he's become a hybrid. He nicknames himself the Brundle Fly. His last name is Brundle. He's doing fly-like stuff, like he's vomiting on his food before eating it, like flies do, vomiting the enzymes on there. But he's losing control more and more. You know, he's going back to his more primitive state. So now he's trying to figure it out, and he designs a program where he's going to dilute the fly genes in his body. At the same time, Ronnie learns that she's pregnant. She has this nightmare that she gives birth to a maggot. So
that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was very cool.
That was a cool scene.
That was very cool.
That was good special effects.
Yes.
You put it that was real.
And Yeah, so she, with Stathis, her ex, her editor, they find a doctor. They convince him to do a abortion.
You know who the gynecologist was?
I don't remember.
It was David Cronenberg.
Really?
Yes, it was.
Holy shit!
I got tons of tips for you people.
Yes, yes. So they convince her, but Seth finds out, and he abducts Ronnie before it can take place. So then Stathis, brings back to the lab. Stathis breaks in with the shotgun, and now we're in the final showdown. Seth, Brundle, the fly, he vomits onto Stathis, his enzymes, which disfigures him, and now he.
I bet you guys never thought we'd have a science class today.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm terrible with science. So then Seth reveals his final plan that he's going to, use the pod to fuse himself, her, and the child into one entity. He's dragging her into the pod, and Stathis, gets injured, but gets up, shoots it, breaks the pod. They escape, and yeah, that's. Oh yes. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. And it's the very end, and I realize now that there's a lot of spoilers in this, but I didn't know how to tell the story otherwise. So now Seth breaks out of his pod, and he is as the the fusion process is activated. The Brundlefly is he's fused with the door, and he begs her to shoot him. She has the shotgun, and he begs her to shoot him. And yeah.
Now, let me ask you, do you think kids today would actually watch this movie, would sit there and watch this movie?
I don't know. I think they would be turned off by the effects, just because like I said, for me, they're cool because but they're.
Well, it's 80s special effects.
Yes.
To me, that's what makes them cool.
Yeah.
Because it's 80s. There's no computer generation. It's all just, craftsmanship.
Yeah.
I don't think it would last that long.
Yeah, I don't, I think that would turn them off because they are so used to just these super clean, super smooth special effects.
Also, they want instant gratification.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I don't think the average kid would sit through this, to be honest with you.
What was your favorite scene? Did you have a favorite scene?
Oh God. Let me think here. I mean, I really liked when he breaks the guy's arm there, fractures his arm. I really like that.
That was my number 2.
I think my favorite scene is the maggot dream scene there. Honestly, I really do.
Mine was when he was climbing on the ceiling
That is
and the
cool.
wall. I saw the new Spider-Man movie recently, and it reminded me of that.
Yeah, and we didn't really get into that, but yeah, as he's turning into the fly, he has more and more characteristics of a fly. Like walk on floors, walls, stuff like that. Like we talked about him vomiting on his food, and stuff. But yeah, there's all sorts of other little things throughout the movie that are just great, just fantastic. What else?
Well, I got some
Yeah.
little inside info for you guys.
Yeah.
There were several different drafts of this movie. Cronenberg made a ton of changes. He rewrote characters. He changed the dialogue, most of the dialogue. He fused 2 of the characters that instantly became Stathis Warrens. The previous versions had 2 guys. One, his name was DeWitt, and the other one was Chandler. And they had interest in romantically with Gina Davis's character. And Cronenberg, of course, kept his trademark sexuality and body horror. And if you don't know what body horror is, it's essentially what's on the screen. If you look at our 6 pictures here, it's the morphing of a person into something else. It's changing the body, morphing the body, and Cronenberg was a king at that in the 80s.
Yeah,
he really did a great job.
Yeah, he you know, like people are like, oh yeah, he defined it. He essentially defined the genre. He essentially was the genre for a lot of years of body horror. You don't see a lot of it too much. Nowadays, a lot of times with body horror, it's sort of you'll see body horror, but it's horror movies that infuse elements of comedy into them a lot of times, like Slither. You remember that one? That had some body horror in it, but it also had some funny parts to it, which I love. I like horror comedy too and stuff. But that's where you see it more. You don't see it as much nowadays. It was very popular in the 80s. Yeah.
You know, you miss that with 80s movies, whether they're horror comedies or they're just straight up horror movies like Friday the 13th or Halloween. You don't get that today.
Yeah, you know, because there wasn't the CGI and the, you know, I miss those. I mean, that's not to say I enjoy CGI and it's great watching these movies now and how slick and smooth they are. But I mean, it also is something to watching an older movie and watch, you know, old school special effects and stuff. I really dig that. So yeah.
Anybody in the chat have any questions?
Yeah. Questions, comments, concerns?
Concerns.
Yeah, I mean, or any suggestions for our next movie review?
Yeah, we had a subscriber suggest this movie to it, or not this particular movie. He wanted like Cronenberg or somebody else. He picked 2 directors. And he asked us to pick one of them. So we chose Cronenberg.
Yeah, and we went with The Fly, because it's, like I said, it's his biggest grossing and it is most commercially successful and pretty much the one that everybody knows of David Cronenberg. But he has so many great films, guys. Go online, check it out. I mean, his classic Scanners.
That's a great movie too.
Yeah, with that scene, I won't even say it, but there's a scene in there that just, it was so ahead of its time and still looked upon as classic to this day. So yeah, I suggest watching this one, and if you dig it, look up Cronenberg films. He's got a ton out there, and he's just great. He's a great director. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this review.
Yeah, I'm good if you are.
I want to thank you guys for watching this show today. And remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that little button to keep you up to date when we release new content. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can contact us there or comment on our videos and let us know what you want to review next. So everybody, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and thank you for watching. For Tom and myself, have a geeky great day.
Thanks, guys.